I'd gotten good at lying. Too good. A sleeve tug just so, a laugh at the right moment, a story about walking through a door. Everyone nodded, smiled, and moved on. No one ever looked twice, except him, Sebastian. I hadn't seen him in years, not since our parents split and we swore we'd never waste another breath on each other. And yet, there he was, standing in front of me like some ghost I never asked for. Same broad shoulders, same sharp jaw, same eyes that used to look at me like I was nothing but a nuisance. Only this time, his eyes didn't look annoyed. They looked searching. I tried the lie, the polished, practiced one. Yeah, I'm fine. Just clumsy. You know me. My lips shaped it so easily, like they'd said it 1,000 times before. But his gaze didn't flinch, didn't move. He wasn't looking at my smile. He was looking through it, right at the bruise half hidden under my collar. It was the strangest thing. Like he touched me without laying a hand on me. Like he peeled back all the layers I'd wrapped around myself and saw the truth no one else dared to. For a heartbeat, I wanted to look away, to laugh it off, to shove him like I used to remind him we were never friends, let alone brothers. But I didn't, because in that heavy silence, his jaw clenched and his voice, low, steady, broke through everything I'd built. Who did that to you? And for the first time in forever, I felt the smallest, most dangerous thing in the world. Hope. Flashback, 4 years ago. When Sebastian asked, "Who did that to you?" something in my chest recoiled so fast I landed somewhere else. Back into that stupid, awful year we were supposed to be a family. We met the day our parents got married. I was 17, he was 19. He walked into our living room like he owned the air. Black hair combed back, jaw set, green eyes that sized me up like I was an annoyance. There was cake and a terrible playlist, and both of our parents grinning like they'd solved everything by putting our last names under the same roof. We were shoved together at dinner, forced to pose for photos, and told to be civil. It lasted 8 months before the whole thing burst. From the first day, the house felt like a battlefield disguised as a home. Bathrooms were negotiated like territory. The hallway outside my room was his racetrack. He left his gym bags where he wanted, like he'd paid rent with his boots. I learned quickly how to make myself smaller. Get up earlier to shower, take my calls outside, and never eat the food with his initials on the Tupperware. We traded insults at first, little knives in passing. Then it escalated into dumb pranks that always ended with someone's face screwed up and the other smirking like it proved the point. I would soap his shampoo bottle. He would hide my headphones. We slapped each other's names into harsh jokes at family dinner until someone laughed and nobody knew why. But it wasn't a simple hate. Hate would have been clean. What we had was messy. Layers of contempt and a weird, grudging watchfulness. There were nights we snapped at each other until one of us slammed a door and then, 10 minutes later, found a note slipped under the door. A traded apology in the form of a half-eaten candy bar and a scribbled, compromised sorry. He noticed the small things about me. The way people notice cracks in a painting. The way I rolled my sleeves when I was nervous. The tiny scar on my knuckle from falling off my bike. The exact way I tucked my hair behind my ear when I was trying not to laugh. I resented that he knew me that well. There was the time a kid from his old soccer team tried to start something with me outside the school one afternoon. I'd been new to the school, quieter, and he came up with his usual sneer. Before I could say anything, Sebastian stepped in. He didn't make a speech. He just put the guy against the lockers and made it clear with a look that the problem wasn't worth his time. Later, when I tried to pay him back with a sarcastic thanks, he rolled his eyes and said, "Don't be an idiot." It was clumsy and awful and protective at once. The first time I realized his anger could be aimed at people who hurt me, not only me. We fought like siblings. We shared one bathroom, We held grudges like trophies, but every so often something broke through the static. A cigarette passed in the cold night outside, a rooftop conversation where he said, quiet and almost embarrassed, "This is dumb. Don't make it worse than it has to be." We weren't sweet about it. We weren't best friends, but there were these small off-book moments where I felt seen by him in a way nobody else had ever bothered to be. It made it worse when it all came apart. The last day he was in that house was chaos. Our parents. Marriage imploded in a storm of shouting, slamming cabinets, and lawyer papers spread like a second dinner table. Rooms were packed in silence. Suitcases leaned in corners. He and I had a fight, the sort that had meaning and fury baked into it. He accused me of melodrama. I called him cold. He said he never wanted this family anyway. I said I hoped he left. Then he left. He took nothing but a duffel and a bitterness that smelled like old coffee and unresolved things. He didn't stand on the porch and promise to call. He didn't turn back. He walked to his car like he'd always been right to walk away, and the house that used to echo with our noise suddenly sounded enormous and empty. I watched him drive off from the front window until the taillights were gone. I told myself I was relieved. I told myself that I'd not missed someone who had been so easy to hate. I lied to myself well. After that, we disappeared from each other's lives. I heard rumors that he was studying somewhere else, that he had a job fixing things, that he could throw a punch and knew how to fix a radiator. We were a memory folded away in separate drawers. Our names were like chapters in separate books. So when I see him now across the cafe, all the years collapse. He looks older, the sharp jaw softened into something deliberate, his shoulders broader, the green of his eyes deeper. But there's something else, a precision in the way he watches people, like he's still cataloging details the way he always did. That precision is why he sees the bruise under my collar. He notices the stiff way I tilt my head when I'm lying. He notices the tired softness around my eyes that everyone else calls, "You look busy," or "just stressed." Why is he here standing in front of me? Not because we planned reunions or because either of us wanted this. He's in town for work, some contract that keeps him moving between cities. And he stopped for coffee between deadlines. Or maybe fate would have called it a coincidence, except he didn't look away. When he saw me, something tightened in him, the way it always did when the world felt like it was asking too much. He recognized me the way you recognize the sound of rain on gutters after living without it for years. And he came over because, despite everything we'd said to each other, he never stopped registering the parts of me that were messily, stubbornly true. So that's how we came to this. Him across from me, seeing the thing no one else did. His asking the one question that would crack open everything. Who did that to you? Flashback ends. Back to the present time. Who did that to you? Sebastian's voice was steady, too steady. I forced a laugh, pulling at my sleeve like that could make the bruise vanish. Relax, I told you, I'm clumsy. His jaw clenched. Alex! I said drop it. The words came sharp, sharper than I meant. His hand twitched, like he wanted to grab my wrist, to force me to stay. I shoved him instead, harder than I should have. It's none of your damn business. Before he could fire back, I turned, storming out of the cafe, heart hammering like I'd stolen something. I didn't look back, not once, even though I could feel his eyes burning holes in my back. By the time I pushed open the door to our apartment, my chest was tight, my palms slick. The air inside was too quiet, too warm. Alex? His voice floated from the couch. Mike. He stood as I walked in, smiling that smile everyone else found charming. His ginger hair caught the lamplight, his hands slipping into his pockets like he was casual, harmless. There you are, he said softly, stepping close. His eyes flicked over me, not missing the way I swallowed too fast. I was worried. I dropped my bag, muttered, I texted you. You didn't answer soon enough. He brushed invisible dust off my shoulder, fingers light, almost tender. I love you, you know that, right? It should have sounded sweet. It should have felt safe. But the way he said it, like a vow and a warning tangled together, made my stomach flip. I know, I whispered. You should have been here. His hand cupped the back of my neck, not rough, not cruel, just firm, possessive. His thumb brushed my hairline. I don't like it when you're out so late. It scares me. I get worried about you. Every word was honey, every word a chain. My throat tightened. I'm sorry, I said, because it was the only thing I ever seemed to say. His smile widened, satisfied, as he pressed a kiss to my forehead. That's all I need. Just don't make me worry, baby. Don't give me a reason to think you don't care. My chest ached as I nodded, the lie burning my tongue. He guided me toward the couch, toward him, his hand never leaving my neck. And for a split second, Sebastian's voice echoed in my head, low, steady, impossible to shake. Who did that to you? Flashback, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it felt like I'd won the lottery. Mike was everything. That's what I told myself, what I told everyone. We met at a friend's party, one of those loud, crowded nights where I felt out of place, until suddenly I wasn't. He noticed me across the room, offered me a drink, and spoke like I was the only one worth talking to. He laughed at my dumb jokes. He asked questions no one else ever bothered to. And when he touched my hand, just a brush, casual, like he didn't even mean to. It was like a spark I hadn't known I was waiting for. By the end of the night, I was dizzy with him. By the end of the week, we were inseparable. He texted me good morning before I even opened my eyes. He remembered things I didn't even remember telling him. He called me his lucky star and swore he'd never let me go. It was a fairy tale, the kind I'd stopped believing in years ago. And when he asked me to move in after just a few months, I said yes without hesitation. Why wouldn't I? Who wouldn't? The first crack was so small I barely noticed. You don't need to hang out with them tonight, he said once, sliding his arm around me as I grabbed my jacket. Stay with me. We can order takeout, just us sweet. Thoughtful. I stayed. Then it was, why do you need to talk to your mom so much? You see her all the time. Then, I don't like that friend. They don't respect us. Stop answering their calls. And slowly, without me even realizing, my world shrank until he was all that was left. The first time his temper snapped, he apologized so fast it barely registered. I had said something harmless, something about work, and he grabbed my wrist too hard, just for a second. His eyes went wide after, his voice soft, frantic. I'm sorry, you know I'd never hurt you. You just make me crazy sometimes because I love you so much. I believed him. When the bruises started, I got creative. Long sleeves in the summer, makeup that never quite matched my skin. Stories about bumping into doors, tripping over stairs, and burning myself while cooking. Everyone nodded. Everyone believed me. Or maybe they wanted to. My friends stopped asking. My mom smiled too brightly on the phone and said, "He seems wonderful, Alex. You deserve this wonderful, wonderful, like the flowers he bought after yelling. Wonderful, like the way he said, I only get like this because you matter too much. Wonderful, like the cage I couldn't see until it was locked around me. And then came the words that cut deeper than bruises ever could. Nobody else will ever love you like I do. You'd fall apart without me. Don't make me into the bad guy. You know how to keep me happy." At first, I fought back, argued, shouted. But every protest only made his eyes sharper, his smile colder, until I learned that silence was safer. So I stopped fighting. I stopped reaching out. I stopped being the version of myself I remembered. Now it's been 2 years. 2 years of walking on eggshells. 2 years of perfect Instagram pictures and polite family dinners where everyone compliments him. where everyone says how lucky I am. 2 years of telling myself this is just what love looks like when it's real. 2 years of hiding the ache in my chest when I whisper I'm fine, and no one calls me a liar. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just that good at the performance, or if people just don't care enough to look closer. And maybe that's the cruelest part of all, because this is my life now, my forever. And even if some stubborn part of me wants out, I wouldn't know where to go. Flashback ends. A few weeks later, I saw him again, Sebastian. It had been weeks since that first jarring moment in the cafe, when his eyes had pinned me to the floor like a butterfly under glass, and for some reason, maybe fate, maybe his stubborn nature, he kept showing up. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, a run-in at the store, passing by at night when I was walking home. But after the third time, I realized it wasn't a coincidence at all. He was watching me, and God, it made me furious. "Don't you have anything better to do?" I snapped one evening outside the laundromat, slamming the dryer door shut harder than necessary. He was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, broad shoulders filling the space like he owned it. Sebastian had a way of looking at you without saying a word, like he was peeling layers off until he reached bone. It used to drive me crazy when we were kids. It drove me even crazier now. "I'm just making sure you're okay," he said simply. I laughed, sharp and bitter. "You don't get to do that. You don't get to walk back into my life after years and play the hero." His jaw tightened, but he didn't move. "I'm not playing anything, Alex. I see things you're trying to hide." That's when the air turned thick, and I felt my chest tighten, because I knew exactly what he meant. The bruise I'd tried to cover with makeup hadn't fully faded, the sleeve I kept tugging down my wrist, the way I avoided eye contact when people asked how I was doing. My stomach dropped, but I shoved the fear down hard. "It's none of your business," I said, pushing past him. "You don't know anything about my life." He reached out, fingers brushing my elbow before I yanked away like his touch burned. "Alex!" "Don't," I spat. My throat felt tight, heat rushing to my face. "Don't act like you care. You never did. You hated me, remember? That's all we ever were, just two assholes stuck in the same house. And now you think, what? You're my savior?" I pushed him hard. Not enough to move him. He was too solid for that, but enough to make my point. Then I turned and ran, heart pounding, throat burning, with words I refused to let spill out. I made it home in record time, fumbling with the keys, pulse racing like I was being chased. And in a way, I was, not by him, but by the truth. Inside, the air was still, almost suffocating. And then I heard it. "Alex?" Mike's voice, sweet, smooth as honey, the kind of voice people love to hear. But tonight, it slid over my skin like ice. He stepped out from the kitchen, smiling in that easy way that had once made my heart flutter. "There you are?" I was getting worried. His eyes flicked to the clock, then back to me, warm but sharp. "You're late. Again." I swallowed, forcing a smile. Laundry took longer than I thought. He moved closer, not rushing, not raising his voice. "You should have told me." He cupped my cheek gently, his thumb brushing the edge of my jaw where the bruise had barely healed. The tenderness made bile rise in my throat. "You know how I worry about you. I love you, Alex. You know that, right?" His voice was velvet, but it pressed like a blade against my ribs. My whole body tensed. He didn't say the words like a reassurance. He said it like a warning, like a reminder of everything I owed him, everything I'd lose if I slipped out of line. I nodded quickly, because that was safer than hesitating. "I know. I love you too." And just like that, his smile widened. He kissed my forehead softly, as if nothing at all was wrong, as if the chill in the air was my imagination. But I could feel it. The invisible chains are tightening. I went through the motions, putting my laundry away, sitting with him on the couch while he talked about his day. He laughed, touched my knee, leaned in like everything between us was normal. But under it all, I couldn't stop hearing Sebastian's voice in my head. I see things you're trying to hide. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to hide anymore. A few days later, Sebastian kept showing up. Not with grand speeches or dramatic rescues, just there, a shadow at the edge of my routine. If I ran into him at the grocery store, he'd fall into step beside me. If I left work late, somehow he'd be outside leaning against his car like he'd just happened to be passing by. Every time I bristled. "What, stalking me now?" I'd snap. "Relax, not everything's about you," he'd shoot back, eyes flicking over me like he could read the truth I was trying to bury. We argued the way we always had. Sharp words, barbed insults. The history between us made it too easy. I'd mock his cocky attitude. He'd call me stubborn. Every conversation ended with me storming off, hating how my chest felt lighter after seeing him, even if all we did was fight. But he never stopped, never looked away when I flinched at loud noises, never missed when I pulled my sleeve down too quickly. And it scared me, how much I wanted him to stop pretending to be casual, to just say the thing he wasn't saying. By the third month, it felt like I was suffocating. The small moments of reprieve I had when Sebastian appeared were never enough. He kept showing up, at the library, outside my office, even walking past my apartment, timing it like he knew exactly when I'd be on the street. I hated him for it. I hated the way my chest would flutter when I saw him, the way my defenses would crumble slightly even as I snapped at him. "You think I don't notice him?" Sebastian said one evening outside my building, voice low. His green eyes didn't leave mine. "The bruises, Alex." The way you flinch at his name. "You're drowning." "You don't know anything," I snapped, trying to pull away. My pride burned hotter than the shame. "You never did." His hand lingered near mine, steady. "I see more than you think, and I'm not leaving until you let me help." Mike, of course, noticed the subtle shift. His sweetness started turning cold at the edges, a quiet warning that tightened my chest. His grip grew tighter, literally. The bruises took longer to fade. The apologies grew rehearsed. "You make me crazy, Alex. I just need you to love me right. You don't want me to leave, do you?" I said no. I said I needed him. My voice shook, but I said it anyway. The night it snapped was ordinary, almost boring. I'd been late, 10 minutes late, coming home. Sebastian had spotted me outside and walked with me halfway. Our argument softer this time, almost like a conversation. Mike was waiting at the door when I came in. He smiled. He said, "Traffic, huh?" But when the door closed, his hand caught my arm, hard enough to make me wince. His voice stayed calm, terrifyingly calm. "Don't lie to me. You think I don't notice when you smell like him? When you laugh with him?" I tried to explain. Tried to lie. It didn't matter. His anger was cold this time, not fiery, controlled, like he'd been rehearsing. "If you want to keep me, Alex," he whispered, forehead pressed against mine, "you don't test me like that again." That was the night I realized this wasn't just bad. This was dangerous. About a month later, it happened fast. I was home late again. Mike's eyes were on me from the moment I stepped into the apartment. That soft, chilling smile. The hand on my arm that lingered too long. "You're late," he said, voice honey smooth, dangerous in its calm. "You didn't tell me where you were." I get worried, Alex. You should have been here. I swallowed the fear. Tried to lie. Tried to smile. It didn't work. His jaw tightened slightly, his grip firmer. Every word was layered. Sweetness, warning, ownership. And then, my chest, my mind, my pride snapped. I shoved him. Not hard, but enough. Enough to show I wasn't just a passive body in this house. "Stop controlling me," I shouted. "I'm not yours." Mike's eyes darkened, and when his hand came down this time, open palm, sharp across my cheek, I didn't even cry out. I just froze, shame flooding in faster than pain. And then, get the hell away from him. Sebastian. I don't know how he got in. I'd find out later he'd been tracking me, worried after seeing me flinch at work earlier that day. All I knew was the way he moved. Fast, furious, protective in a way I'd only ever dreamed someone could be for me. The anger in his eyes, the protective stance, it was everything I hadn't realized I needed. Mike barked something, tried to posture, but Sebastian was bigger, stronger, and angrier. The fight was quick, brutal, and over before it began. Mike ended up on the floor cursing, spitting threats, but he didn't get up again. Sebastian grabbed my hand. His touch was steady, grounding. "You're leaving." "Now," he said, voice low, unyielding, and I followed, not questioning, not resisting. For the first time in years, I felt safe. Later, in Sebastian's car, my hands shook, my chest burned. I finally let tears slip, not just for the pain I'd endured, but for the relief of being seen, truly seen, for the first time. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He was there for me in ways no one had been in years. And for the first time in 2 years, I didn't argue. I let myself fall. The aftermath was messy: police, restraining orders, Mike's pathetic attempt to spin himself as the victim. But Sebastian made sure it stuck. He didn't let Mike slither back with apologies or promises. He stood by me through every hearing, every sleepless night. He made sure Mike was out, for good. It all blurred together. The papers, the lawyers, the quiet, tense nights I spent curled on Sebastian's couch, replaying every word. Sleep came in patches, dreams tangled with fear, shame, and disbelief. Every time I woke with that old panic rising, he was there, brushing my hair back, murmuring my name, grounding me without a single demand. One night, after what felt like the 100th restless hour, I just broke. I let the tears fall, unchecked, and he didn't flinch. He didn't tell me to stop crying. He didn't look away. He simply pulled me into his arms, warm and unyielding, and held me like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. For the first time in years, I didn't push him away. "Shh," he murmured, voice low, steady, safe. "You're okay." "You're safe now," I clung to him, letting the walls I'd spent so long building crumble brick by brick. Gratitude blurred, warming into something sharper, something dangerous in the best way. The kind of thing that made my heart thrum like it had been asleep too long. And in that moment, wrapped in him, I understood something I hadn't dared before. For the first time, I was allowed to feel safe. Not just protected, but seen. Really seen. I didn't pull away, and I never wanted to. About a year later. The first months after Mike were strange. My apartment smelled like lavender and vanilla. Sebastian had insisted on helping me clean, and his presence turned the place into something that felt like home for the first time in years. He didn't hover, didn't force himself into my space. He just was. He'd show up at my apartment with groceries I'd never remember to buy, always including something ridiculous like 2 kinds of chocolate or 6-pack of sparkling water. "You need snacks. Snacks are healing," he'd say, grinning like it was a law of nature. I hated it, and yet I didn't. He'd check in without checking in. Texts like, "Did you eat? Did you sleep? Are you hiding under the bed again?" I'd roll my eyes, type back a snarky remark, but secretly, I smiled every time. One lazy Saturday, we sat on my balcony with mugs of tea, watching the city stretch out below us. The air smelled like rain, and the sun glinted off the puddles left from last night's storm. I'd been quiet for a while, letting my thoughts wander. "You okay?" he asked softly, sitting close enough that our knees touched, but not so close that I panicked. "Yeah," I said, and for the first time, It didn't feel like a lie. I think I am. He smiled, small, quiet, and warm. He nudged my knee with his own, teasing. About time you admit it. I was beginning to think you were allergic to happiness. I laughed, real, unguarded. And he laughed too. It was effortless. Somehow that sound, that moment, made me feel safe. Not like before, where safety was a chain. This was light, gentle. We spent hours talking about everything and nothing. Books we loved, stupid movies, what we wanted to do if we won the lottery. He made faces at me when I got dramatic about a character dying in a book, and I caught myself staring at him when he laughed, feeling something flutter in my chest I didn't understand yet. By winter, my life had taken shape again. I had my own apartment, my own routines, a therapist who reminded me daily that I deserved to smile without guilt, and friends I'd let back into my life slowly, hesitantly. Sebastian was still there, but differently now. Less a protective shadow, more a constant presence. He came over to help me build shelves, stayed late to drink tea when I burned dinner, and laughed when I tripped over the cat. He made me feel normal again. One evening, we were cooking together. Well, I was attempting to cook. He was behind me, leaning over my shoulder, whispering instructions like some kind of flour-coated ninja. Add a pinch of salt, he murmured, fingers brushing my wrist. I froze, heat crawling up my neck. I got it, I stammered, trying not to notice the way his green eyes glimmered with mischief. He didn't say anything, just stayed close, letting me work. When I accidentally flicked tomato sauce onto his shirt, he laughed, deep and warm, not angry. You're a menace, he said, wiping it off with a napkin. I caught myself staring at him, really looking. His hair fell over his forehead in a way that made him look younger and reckless, yet something in his posture, his patience with me, made him look steady, reliable, unshakable. Later, we collapsed on the couch, blankets tangled around us, our knees brushed, and I felt that flutter again. My chest warmed in a way that wasn't just from the tea. He nudged me with his shoulder and whispered, "You're smiling." That's new, I scoffed, trying to hide it, but I was grinning. Maybe I'm contagious. He smirked. I think I caught it. We stayed like that for hours, talking quietly, sharing stupid jokes, teasing each other about everything. The atmosphere was light, playful, innocent, yet heavy with something unspoken. I didn't realize it yet, but each glance, each brush of fingers, each small touch was wiring me closer to him, making it impossible to imagine my life without him in it. By the time I went to bed that night, I was acutely aware of one thing. The walls I'd built around myself weren't gone, but they were softening. And Sebastian? He was the only person allowed to see the cracks. Winter melted into early spring, but the quiet tension between us never thawed. The way we moved around each other, touching shoulders, brushing hands while reaching for a cup, laughing too long when one of us teased the other, started to feel electric. One night, walking home from a late movie, the streetlights casting golden halos on the wet pavement, I couldn't hold it anymore. This is wrong, isn't it? I blurted, voice almost cracking. My hands shoved into my pockets, hiding the shaking. Sebastian stopped mid-step, eyes locking onto mine, green eyes piercing through the fog of my confusion. What? This, I said, gesturing vaguely between us, heart hammering. Us, whatever this is. I shouldn't feel this way. He tilted his head, studying me like he was trying to memorize every detail. Alex, we're not brothers. We never were, not really. Two kids stuck in a short-lived arrangement, that's all. You're not my family, you're... He hesitated, then whispered, "You're you?" I looked away, shame curling in my chest. It still feels... wrong. He stepped closer, gentle but unyielding. Then tell me to walk away. Tell me to stop. I will. But don't tell yourself you can't feel something just because someone else labeled us. My breath caught. I didn't tell him to stop. I didn't want to. Slowly, deliberately, as if giving me the choice to step back, he leaned in. I could feel the warmth of his body, the steady thrum of his heartbeat against mine. His lips brushed mine, soft at first, testing, searching. I froze. And then, without thinking, I leaned in too. My hands found his chest, gripping lightly, holding on as if afraid he might vanish. His lips pressed against mine again, firmer this time, and my chest surged with something I hadn't dared feel until now. Relief, safety, desire, and an aching sweetness that made my head spin. It wasn't frantic or desperate. It was perfect. Slow, sure, and steady, like everything we'd been through, everything that had brought us here, led to this one moment. When we finally pulled back, just slightly, his forehead rested against mine, and I could feel the warmth radiating from him. I wanted to smile, but my chest was too full, too overwhelmed with everything. Fear, longing, and the undeniable fact that I was finally letting myself feel safe and loved. I've waited for this. But this doesn't mean anything unless and until you want it to. Whatever you choose, I'll accept it, Alex. I'll be waiting for your answer. I stayed frozen, mind racing, chest aching. The weight of what I felt, desire, relief, trust, fear, pressed down on me all at once. And just like that, the world fell away. He didn't push, didn't demand, didn't rush. He simply let me exist, letting me decide. And in that quiet, suspended moment, I knew the choice would be mine. A few weeks later. Weeks passed, quiet and golden, filled with the kind of small electric touches that made my heart race without ever rushing me. Stolen glances over coffee cups, hands brushing when passing a bowl of popcorn, leaning too close during a movie so our shoulders touched, fingers occasionally grazing. Nothing forced, nothing demanded, just a constant, subtle pull. Sebastian never said a word about that kiss or my feelings. Never pushed me, never asked if I was ready, never reminded me I owed him anything. He simply existed in the space around me, steady, solid, patient. The kind of presence I had never allowed myself before. And somehow that freedom, that lack of pressure, made me trust him more than anyone ever had. One night, I came home exhausted from work, dragging my feet and dragging my thoughts along with me. I found him on his couch, curled slightly, a soft snore escaping him. The curve of his shoulder, the relaxed tilt of his head. It was inviting in a way that made my chest ache. He was mine to approach, mine to stay near, but not mine to demand from. I sat down slowly beside him, careful not to disturb him. My hand hovered near his arm, then rested lightly, nothing more. I just watched him breathe, letting myself absorb every quiet detail. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, and I didn't have to do anything. He didn't speak, didn't rush me, didn't expect anything. He simply stayed there. That was it. That was enough. And as I watched him, I realized with a pang in my chest that I wanted this. I wanted him. Not for any reason, but because he was himself. Because he had shown me patience, care, and a freedom I'd never known. My certainty built slowly, brick by brick, until I could no longer doubt what I felt. Finally, I leaned closer, my hand brushing his shoulder with trembling certainty. "Sebastian," I whispered, voice low. He stirred, blinking up at me sleepily, and his green eyes softened with the same patience that had held me together for months. "Yeah?" I swallowed hard, letting the trembling in my chest settle into something sharp and real. I want you. I want this. I want you." Relief flickered across his face, gentle and warm. He didn't rush me, didn't take my words as permission to move faster than I was ready for. He simply leaned closer, lips brushing mine, deliberate, tender, patient. And this time, when I kissed him back, I knew it was my choice. My body moved into his freely, my hands resting on his chest, tangling in his hair. The walls I had spent years building crumbled entirely, but I didn't fear it. I didn't want to fear it. This love, this connection was safe, steady, ours. He stayed with me in that kiss, slow and sure, until I finally pulled back just slightly to look at him, breathing hard, heart pounding. He didn't speak, just rested his forehead against mine, letting me take the lead. I want you, I repeated, louder this time, eyes bright, voice steady. All of you. I want you, Sebastian. His smile broke then, soft and wide, the kind that makes you feel like the sun has finally risen just for you. Then you have me, he said simply. All of me. And I'll be here, wherever you need me. And for the first time in my life, love wasn't terrifying. It wasn't dangerous. It wasn't a cage. It was freedom, patience, trust, and the most perfect certainty I had ever felt. I leaned in again, letting our lips meet in a kiss that was everything. Soft, deliberate, certain, and utterly, beautifully ours. A few months later, life felt light. My apartment smelled like cinnamon and coffee, sunlight spilling across the couch where Sebastian and I were sprawled, the chaos of a takeout dinner still lingering, empty boxes, stray napkins, and the warm buzz of laughter filling every corner. I had a job I loved, friends who made me laugh until my stomach hurt, and a therapist who reminded me daily that happiness wasn't just allowed, it was mine. And then there was Sebastian. He was lying back with his arm draped over the couch, smirking at me like he always did, cheeks flushed from some private joke. I nudged him playfully. You were the bigger jerk back then, you know. No way, he shot back, grinning. You hated me first. I leaned forward, chest light, heart steady. I don't hate you at all. For a heartbeat, his smirk faded into something softer, something tender, and he cupped the back of my neck, drawing me in. His lips met mine, slow and warm, full of all the trust, care, and love we'd built from broken pieces. We pulled back, foreheads touching, breath mingling, and laughed softly at the ridiculousness of it all. My mom knows now, by the way, I said quietly, a little shy. Sebastian rolled his eyes, smiling wider. Yeah, my dad too. I didn't ask, I just told him. Figures they'd notice eventually anyway. And, I asked, teasing, he's fine, he said, shrugging. He was just happy we're happy. And you know what? I think our parents get that some bonds aren't about titles. They're about choice. I rested my head on his shoulder, sighing contentedly. Choice. I like that we spent the rest of the afternoon like that, talking about everything and nothing, the comfort between us, a soft, unbreakable thread. Outside, the city hummed, life carrying on, but inside our apartment, it felt like the world had shrunk to just the two of us, and it was perfect. Some endings weren't endings at all. They were rewrites, bright, warm, and full of hope. I kissed him again, softly, and whispered, I love you. I love you too, he said, voice low and certain, pressing a gentle forehead kiss against mine. And in that moment, I believed it completely. Love wasn't scary. It wasn't dangerous. It was safe. It was ours, and it was everything I'd ever wanted. The future stretched ahead, wide and golden, and for the first time, I couldn't wait to meet it. Together. The end. Have you ever realized someone you thought you hated was actually the person who could save you? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.